he was young. Each key a stone to step on. The story goes, telephone books had to be stacked to boost him to reach the piano keys on Sunday morning. His mama sat right beside him and pumped the pedals. When school came around, he was ready to be that guy. Sonny Boy brought everybody together. Glee club, choir, and impromptu jam sessions at the Peg Leg Bates Gymnasium. Nimble fingers that found the right notes, but really, it was his ears. Listen on a deeper level. Imagine him in front of the radio, taking in taboo songs sung by Muddy Waters and Howling Wolf. If he heard a song, he made his way through it, played it back. That was his gift, savant. But no one but us saw the hours he spent at the piano, playing until he got it right. Only he knew what he was aiming for. What self-possession to take up residence at the piano. Sit down and bring people together with what he pressed out of 88 keys. Wait for the nod of the head or eye contact from the preacher to match the mood. No, make the mood. This wonder, an unchoreographed production, my first arts integration teacher, demonstrating give and take. He helped the message land to get into the marrow while he pried the roof of the church off and pierced heaven. A feat, a God-given gift. His stroll, his stride kept it going. He hung out with them cats, the ones who brought their horns and trombones, saxophones, and guitars. Always a lead woman who could sing. He always pieced together a band, but he was behind it all, made it effortless. But there were hours stacked upon hours. I don't know a day that his fingers did not touch keys until the stroke landed and he died. You could circle his life with song, but it goes on and on. How he marked his time with notes, cool, an appearance of smooth, never ruffled, but cool does not get at his layers. But you can't get any smoother than a Black man's soul handing out pieces to everyone so they can jump on board and ride, to be lifted higher in church or a juke joint. No matter this soul train, this was his one true gift. Nobody knew the trouble he saw, so he played what he could not say. He tried to play his way up out of the hole he was born into, the wounded healer, filled with blues, bottomless hues, cool, but more than cool, deeper, each key a stone to step over troubled water, a strategy of giving to a world that never loved him whole. So now, are we good? Paula Appling is going to come up and give us the winners of our fall contest. All right, give her a round of applause, and we're
Hey, y'all. I'm just the manager. I'm just the messenger. That's it. And I'm going to read. Forgive me. So these were for the Poetry Society of South Carolina contest for fall of 2025, what just happened. The DuBose and Dorothy Hayward Society Prize honorable mention is Jacqueline Markham. First place winner is Deborah Connor excuse me, that's okay. First place winner is Deborah Connor for her poem, After Admitting My Mother to the Psych Ward. The judges said, I love the specificity and tonal control in this poem, the way every detail reveals an alternate reality that is simultaneously present and absent. A beautiful poem. The Starkey Flythe Jr. Memorial Prize honorable mentions are Deborah Connor and Dan Hawkins. First place winner is Amy Randall for her poem. For her poem, Noctalgia, Sky Grief. The judge said, I love the use of repetition in this poem, perfect for a subject of this magnitude, as well as the way the poem urges us to mourn the human-driven loss of those very figures that humans themselves, through the power of naming, once called into being. The Edward Johnson Prize. Honorable mentions are Anne Humphreys and Richard Allen Taylor. First place winner is Dan Hawkins for his poem, My Cloud of Unknowing. The judge said, the best spiritual poems are not just about spiritual themes or devotional in tone, but deploy language to evoke and summon the numinous. The musicality and colliding imagery of My Cloud of Unknowing seek a point beyond their own sum while capturing the bemused perplexity of the seeker. The Marjorie E. Peel Prize. Honorable mentions are Emily Davis Fletcher and Deborah Connor. First place winner is Libby Bernardin for her poem, To What Some Nagging Thing Will Lead. The judge said that M dash in the title is a clue to the working of this poem. Between the deft use of form and voice, this poem accomplishes a difficult feat, enacting the limits of our sympathy with nature. In our conquest for connection, we run continuously off the edge into silence, into space where only poetry will do. The Perception Prize. Honorable mentions are Terry McCord and Richard Allen Taylor. The first place winner is Susan Craig for her poem, That Kind. The judge said, when it comes to recording perception in a poem, one does well to follow Dickinson's advice and tell it slant. What is admirable about That Kind is how it manages such an oblique angle on its subject while keeping its images crystal clear, revealing as well some facet of truth's superb surprise. The Clyde Robinson Poetry Prize. Honorable mention is Susan Craig. The first place winner is Deborah Connor for her poem Stono Rebellion, 9 September 1739. The judge said, wonderfully crafted poem, reminds me of Natasha Trethewey's best work. The matter-of-fact tone, so understated given the larger topic, survives as a powerful reminder of the way horror and mundanity have existed side by side for too much of our nation's history. The Dana Burnett Prize. Honorable mention is Tim Conroy. The first place winner is Julie Cook for her poem, November Morning. The judge said, beautiful tension in this poem between grief and beauty with small moments from the natural world or the everyday human world becoming brief antidotes to sorrow. The last one, the Susan Laughter Myers Memorial Prize. Honorable mentions are Frances Pierce and Ruth Nicholson. The first place winner is Lisa Sloan for her poem Blue Note. The judge said, all good poems take the reader on a journey, but this poem manages several, a sonic one into the rhythms of jazz, a spatial one into a club night that becomes a careening ride across the city, and a brief personal one from initial resistance to a full-throated surrender to the exuberance of new experience. Congratulations to you all. And you have one day left to get your poem in for this.
The spring contest.
It's due tomorrow.
So you're gonna be up tonight. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Can we give the all of the winners another round of applause? Spread the word. You know, we all are a bunch of geeks. We're up there gasping at the M-dash. Oh, that tells you how much of geeks we are, but it's beautiful, right? So, and Deb and Dan the man, okay, y'all just swept. I just want to say, but congratulations to everyone. these contests are important to help the society go on. So please, if it's not on your radar, submit. And so we're going to go into our reading for this evening, but I do want to encourage, if you don't have a membership to the Poetry Society, please go ahead and do that.
I joined.
You did?
Yeah, but I did it online.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to know about the contest. Are they all online?
Yes, and they should be getting a newsletter. So if you just give me your information before we go, I'll make sure that that's passed on and it won't be missed. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, and so check that. I think there's a monthly newsletter. Is it monthly? Yes, it's monthly. And so if you have poetry news, if you're a member, then you can submit. Like if you won an award or anything that's going on with you creatively, you can submit that and that will appear in the newsletter. So I highly encourage you to do that. Now, let's get to the night of poetry. Can we get a round of applause? So our opening reader is Joshua Blankenship, and I'm going to read his bio, but I just want to say Joshua is what I think as a community connector and a fine wordsmith. And I am so glad that he and his wife are in the upstate and doing the work that they do. Joshua Blankenship is a designer, writer, and occasional illustrator who lives in Greenville, South Carolina. Well-versed on both the page and the stage. I wrote that, okay. He is the author of Haiku Pickup Lines. Don't you like that already? Volume 1, and a co-founder and host of Poets Live. And you can find that on Instagram. Is it Instagram only? Okay, on Instagram, a monthly open mic that has become a staple in Greenville's literary community. Alongside his wife, Mandy, and their children, he collaborates on writing and illustrating books for Blankenshop, their independent press, together. Joshua and Mandy are deeply rooted in the local art scene and contributing to its vitality through publishing, performance, and the creative collaboration. Will you please tell us, before you come up, when is the next Poets Live event?
Next Poets Live will be first Friday of next month, so that's March 6th, I believe, and it'll be at the Village Grind, right around the corner in the village.
Y'all got that? Village Grind. Get your grind on, okay? So you can come and read. And I heard a couple of people come up and said, oh, I want to read, but I don't know. This is a place, a safe space to go read. Please welcome up our very own Joshua Blankenship.
Thank y'all so much. Despite my first published poetry collection being Haiku Pickup Lines, I did not bring any romance with me today. Thank you to the Poetry Society and to Glennis and to Jaki, Shelton Green. My family and I live on this street. I can walk here, so welcome to our neighborhood. I wrote this first poem for my kids, who we are trying to raise to be wise and generous and joyful. It's called, I Hope This Message Finds You. I hope this message finds you, thick with colossal abundance, overflowing onto neighborhood streets. I hope it is quieter there where you'll be after me, and you carry in your bones marrow-deep joy and wonder, how the genesis of things is they are never ending. I hope you know love in the stillness and storm and your bed and belly. And when you dig your hands in the dirt, you feel the generosity of the earth, wise blood flowing through your fingers. I hope you are favored by the dawn, whose heat travels unobstructed until it is stopped at the last moment by your face, warmth pooling in the cracks around your eyes, your shadow, proof that you are there in the not yet, stealing the last seconds of the speed of light. I've been on a really interesting path with both our writers community and just internally the last few years, trying to understand my voice in poetry beyond just the mechanics of poetry. I've always had a way with words. I was a songwriter before I started pursuing poetry, but I want to figure out what I have to say. Jackie did a great job in the workshop earlier today talking about how, these stories are in us. And so how do we pull that out? My community, people like Glennis and other poets have been great at helping me shape some of that. Happy Black History Month. I think as a white writer, I think a lot of white writers often avoid talking about race, writing about race and racism for fear of saying the wrong thing or unintentionally offending or treating racism as something that is other, that doesn't affect us. But racism affects everyone, and it affects everything it touches. I'm old enough to remember that weird thing in the late 90s where I would hear Wu-Tang Clan coming out of the speakers of jacked up pickup trucks that were flying rebel flags. And just the cognitive dissonance of what was happening as hip hop came into mainstream culture around me and all my redneck friends. I grew up here in South Carolina where we have to reckon with the fact that like the Don't Tread on Me flag was designed by a guy named Christopher Gadsden, who also owned and built the wharf in Charleston that 40% of the transatlantic slave trade came through. So Don't Tread on Me had a very narrow definition. So I'm going to share what's likely going to be one more poem because it is quite long. Glennis and another local poet named Tanasha Leray have helped me kind of find my voice in this poem as I've been trying to figure out how to frame it. But just a couple of quotes that I think are helpful to frame it that helped me. The first one is from Gwendolyn Brooks as a part of one of her poems. She says, "We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond." And the other is from Madeline Miller's excellent novel, Circe. If you have never read that, she says, "Beneath my feet were the bones of 1,000 years. I thought, I cannot bear this world a moment longer. Then, child, make another." So this poem is called An Underground Pale Road, and hell followed with it. When I was 6, I saw a parade of hooded men on Main. I only had 2,000 neighbors in that town, so I bet I knew a few of them. Soft white pines with faces just like mine. Rednecks just like mine. I wondered why they were hiding in plain sight in plain white sheets down the same main street where nothing ever happened, except the time I stole candy from the 5 and dime. My mother caught me once and made me take it back to apologize to the man behind the counter, but now I wonder if the man behind the counter could have been one of them. Pay no attention to the man behind the counter who could have been any one of 1,000 men cloaked in how y'all, hellfire, honeysuckle hymns, hiding under sharpened crowns, hard R wizards under dressing gowns. Woe to my hometown of whitewashed tombs buried in a mess of Southern charms. Woe to sweet old church ladies whispering to kids not to bring their little football friends back on Sundays again. Woe to grown men calling grown men boy, venom wrapped in sugarcane. Woe to you brood of seer-sucking salesmen, demon deacons dressed up to go tell it on the mountain, but barricade the door. Woe to mobs who miss the metaphor, innocent man lynched on tree for the crime of claiming to be the image of God, walking free in the cool spring breeze. Woe to a litany of civility dipped in red clay and tobacco leaves, running black bodies out of town with money and the threat of violence. And woe to all my white-shaped, eyeless, voiceless, gutless silence. When my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was 23, he traded 5 years of freedom for passage to America, 88 years before it was America. Ralph had John, John had Isham, Isham Presley, Presley Barnabas, Barnabas Miller, Miller Arsemus, Arsemus had my grandfather Claude, Claude had Dad, and it's a white privilege I know each of their names. I'm 10 generations deep who sowed and reaped poor but free on someone else's land, while black family trees began to be cut, shipped, and handled. I went to school, but I never learned the names of the boats that brought so many great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddies low. grafted into fields against their will, pay no attention to the man behind the till. We sailed 12,000 ships to steal 12 million souls, robbed a civilization of itself, sparkling obsidian and ogiri, closer to the sun where it gilds the edges at the fat of the earth. 2 by 2 out of every dozen never saw another shore, only tasted freedom on salt swollen lips when they jumped or were dumped, when we dumped their bodies at sea. Give me your tired, your poor, your muddled blackstrap molasses, the bitter remnants who made the passage. Woe to the hellish Ellis Island a day away from me, men, women, and children sold like branded cattle. We milked their lives until their chests ran dry and skimmed the richest futures off the top. So where's their fair share of the crop that made America great? Where's reparation for 4 centuries of what the locusts ate? No matter how deep we try to bury the skeleton keys that unlock the doors, that unleash the seas, strange fruit is no invasive species. Nobody brought it over on the boat. We grew it here, long stem and bloodroot, in small towns just like mine. We invented lynching in Virginia, perfected it in Georgia and Mississippi, and didn't call it a federal crime until 2022. A national pastime, we're long overdue to process what grows native in our own backyard. Woe to old habits dying hard. Half of us trapped in a story we refuse to understand, burying our heads in the low country sand. Nobody knows the trouble unseen. We plug our ears with cotton and go deaf from the irony. If this land is your land and this land is my land, we bought it for baubles and built it on whip scar backs. Woe to the big house foundations, blood mixed in the mortar cracks. I'm not 6 anymore. Our Seamus had Claude, Claude had Dad, Dad had me, and I had Moses Lincoln, a double deliverer. Twice the chance to sow and reap something different with my son. The shapes we were poured into are not our final ones. 3 centuries before me, my people came from the in-between, made camp in the Eden Valley just south of Hadrian's Wall, a 2-day walk north over his crumbling spine across the moors and deep-set valleys to the foothills of the highlands. Wet wind at your offhand, rough living in savage country. A million myriad years before we had names for places you could walk to Scotland from my Carolina hometown. Appalachia crashed into West Africa, one seamless Pangean mountain ranging from the deep south up into the mouth of winter at the roof of the world. You can bob for the same shells in the scree on both sides of the gap, where fossilized ferns coil folds in the map. We are all diaspora pulled from a common soil, long-lost brothers and sisters and sowers and reapers. We are each other's keepers of woes and stories and garlands gracing the ancestors' fables. So sit at my table and I'll sit at yours, where we'll weep with the weepers. Let us stitch up the drift into quilts for the sleepers. Come in, and reckon and reckon and reckon again. I think I might have time for one more, if that's okay with y'all. Let's do. I tend to write poems because I read something that triggers something, and often that's like a Wikipedia article or a science article or something. So I was reading about Rasputin, Grigory Rasputin, the old Russian guy, and found out that when he was a part of the court of the Tsar, he would often write letters to the Tsar's children when he was away. So the title of this poem is a line from one of those. It's called "This World is Like the Day. Look, it's already evening." There was still Siberian snow on the ground in 1898 when Rasputin's oldest daughter, Maria, was born. She died in the eternal sunlight of Silver Lake, California in 1977. That summer, she might have driven the 10 minutes up the 101 to Hollywood to see Star Wars on the big screen of the Chinese theater. Time is an accordion, impossibly compressed, droning on too long between high notes. Somehow I have a 10-year-old daughter who I swear was just born in my arms, impossibly small. I showed her Star Wars last summer, the fatherly twist spoiled long ago by a culture obsessed with knowing. Rasputin knew mysticism has its moments, and we would all do better letting mystery linger longer. Look, it's already evening. Love, lay your head on the pillow, still full of questions. Another world awaits your waking, impossibly huge and full of wonders.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So I want everybody to take a deep breath. Whew, that was a lot, right? And give another round of applause for Joshua. Whew. I would argue that all three of those poems are love poems in very different shapes and forms. So thank you for finding your voice. Thank you for trusting your voice. And I've said this to you personally, we need you. So keep coming to the circle. Now for our featured reader, our marvelous workshop leader. I think that was my first workshop to ever sit. Even though I've known Jaki for years, I think it was my first time able to take a workshop with her. I want to read the introduction because I don't want to miss one bit. Jaki Shelton Green is the 9th North Carolina Poet Laureate, the first African American and the 3rd woman to hold this esteemed position. She is a ceiling breaker, y'all, a wise woman, a wordsmith, North Carolina rooted and world reaching. She knows her way around a story, every crook and every cranny, a pioneer who went before and walks amongst us with torch in hand, lighting the way for others. She does the work of a poet fully, a leader, a teacher, a documentarian, and a cultural keeper. North Carolina is privileged to claim her, and the literary world has been elevated by her presence. She is busy, y'all. She is busy about the profession of poetry, not as performance alone, but as vocation, as evidence of a life lived in deep listening and fearless witness. She is a 2019 Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow, a 2014 inductee of the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame, and the recipient of the 2003 North Carolina Award for Literature, the state's highest literary honor. She has also served as the 2009 North Carolina Piedmont Laureate and was appointed the 2021 Frank B. Haynes Writer-in-Resident at UNC Chapel Hill. She just retired from documentary poetry at Duke University Center for Documentary Studies, the next generation of truth tellers. Her body of work is vast and enduring. Her books include Dead on Arrival and Conjure Blues, Singing a Tree into Dance, Breath of the Song, Feeding the Light, and I Want to Undie You, also released in a bilingual English-Italian edition. On Juneteenth, 2020, she released her first poetry album, The River Speaks of Thirst. You can buy all of these back here. Please support our poet, reminding us that her voice lives not only on the page, but in sound and in spirit. Please support this poet. She is also the founder of Sister Write, creating sacred spaces for women writers across Sedona, Martha's Vineyard, Ocracoke, Northern Morocco. I said she is busy. And Ireland. I'm sorry, Ireland too. Circles within circles within circles. They say you can tell the worth of a woman by how many circles surround her. With Jackie Shelton Green, there are too many to count. And still, she is held in the most sacred circle of all: wife, mother, grandmother, great grandmother, a well loved life, a necessary life. Please join me in welcoming North Carolina's Poet Laureate and my friend, Jackie Shelton Green.
So one of the things that writers should do, because I don't take it for granted that all writers do, but it's to embrace and hold each other and to hold space for each other's worth and each other's merit. Joshua, brother, I can just go sit my behind down because you said it all. Thank you for such a wonderful, courageous invocation, benediction, truth-telling. I really, really, really honor. I don't know why you think you ain't got no voice. Right? That was voice personified. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. That poem really, really, really seared me in a very deep way. And I felt you're not writing the poem, but brother, you wrote the poem. And your ancestors wrote the poem. They showed up and they held the pen with you and guided you. And thank you for being available to those stories, to the depths of our history. Miss Glennis, thank you. I was sitting here thinking, well, I could just die now. Glennis just gave me a fabulous, just a wonderful going away. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, it's so important for writers to be seen by other writers, because we also live in this era of gatekeepers. I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of foolishness. There's a lot of, I can't use that word in here because there's a lot of unnecessary performative, right? Mean-spiritedness. But in spaces like this, when we have the opportunity to really be inside of the interior of another writer's landscape and to experience that, is such a blessing. It's such a joy. It's such a gift, because what it does, it feeds me. It's like, I wish I had wrote that, and we go home and think, I can write that. But thank you both. I want to start with, I have a series that I've written for Gaza that I've been working on for a few years, and I'm gonna start with that. And I just realized there's one in my notes that I didn't print out, and I'll start with it. James Baldwin still reminds us, even from the grave, that the artist must make art about the times they live in, and the writer must write about the times that we live in. So when I'm asked, I don't think you ever write any happy poems, or I don't think you ever write any just like ocean poems. Like, I got plenty of ocean poems, but what I might see in the ocean, you might not see. The ocean means different things for different people. But as a truth teller and as a cultural activist, that's what I write. That seems to be what I'm deemed to write. I am a storyteller on your doorstep. The ceremony of greed let loose inside your doorways prevents the return of the wounded. Chasing quivering sunrises, the doorkeeper prays to something unnameable. Remembering the bottoms of blue eyes, he gasps breathlessly. He gulps time like a clockmaker. Feed the bones salt to his aching lover. Salt is necessary.
If hallelujah were a person, it would bear his name. Gaza howls his name so loudly, it cracks open every window he's locked and sealed with nails borrowed from his heart. He packs, he leaves. Clocks remain perched on every windowsill. He is my brother, but he is not my brother. Chasing the summer song he's remembering all the way to a howling city of tents, where he reminds himself that he will be a misfit, a clockmaker without hands. He insists on being reborn and grieves the clumps of wet feathers scattered amongst his bombed house. He tells his lover he wants to make footprints. He needs to fly so high he can kiss clouds. She pretends there is static interference on the line, so he hangs up. She doesn't want to be a mother. Her body is not hers. She knows it would strangle, devour, eat any seed growing there. Hallelujah. She also believes in miracles and mornings sweet with hallelujah promises. Art picked her bones clean, but like salt, it was necessary. One day, a tiny girl will crawl herself into her armpit and remind her of all her hungers. She is leaving Gaza for the loneliness of hot sands and wet feathers drying in an open window. Hallelujah is enough. We are symptoms of history. Blood-type vaults hiding too many glory, glory, glories, and hallelujah sandwiches passing as nourishment. Leaving the edges of the earth was a game played in between too much and not enough. Birds imitate a riff he used to play at dawn before he swallows seeds from the family Quran where his childhood has been erased. No dates, no parents, no place of origin. The fever of a whole village breaks and an entire galaxy is reborn inside his poems. His veins need an orchestra. We run with the weeds when there is no moon to calm the ticking bomb inside his belly. Music be like this, he whispers to no one, alone in a blue room that has inscribed all his interrupted whispers and bellowing masha'Allahs unto its walls. The blue room of his desires denies the tenderness of uninvited ghost. So I'm going to just read this entire series. A breath before prayer ended in the beads counting themselves back in place around the neck of the Father. He'd seen too much of his own Father in perpetual prostration to understand that every prayer ain't holy. His mornings began this way before daybreak, with a warm glass of water, with lemon slices and ginger shavings, sometimes a pear or a plum, and a crust of nourishment that he saved for the pigeons staring from the walls of his courtyard. He called each one to him with his eye movements. They understood the language his lips could no longer utter. A man and his greedy birds were the first words he scribbled on the paper stretched in front of him. He could not write about the bright yellow tulips locked inside his wife's unmoving eyes when he found her in the rubble. He could not write about 60 drops of water left in the kettle. He could not write about the hypnotism of Narcissus Nazetta or the smell of wild celery in his mother's hair. He covered his wife's eyes in her favorite flower, blue lapine, and placed jasmine between her breast that continued to seep the honey of milk for the dead child beside her. A man and his greedy birds rise every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, year after year. Only the birds are younger. The man is older and older and older. He smiles at an empty plate, enjoying crust of nourishment from ghost hands that come every morning before daybreak. Ghost hands caress his brow. Ghost hands help him lift the words above his father's grave. A trio of ghosts, grandmother, mother, wife, Sing a tarida. He is the ghost, carrying his body to a summer garden bursting with yellow tulips. Can we ungun the sound of a flag flying at half-mast? The father's thumbs remember the flesh of a torn snare drum stretched from the backs of lost orphans. The 2-year-old spends hours digging into the soft clay wall until he made an opening big enough to raise his lips and whisper his mother's name. She is there, for he watched him put her in the ground. He doesn't understand the language of red clay. He has forgotten his tongue and only wails in the voices of missiles, collapsing walls, empty hunger, and erasure. The dust of broken soldiers have a whirring buzz inside the stems of the goldenrod that line the rim of the shore. From the most tender denomination of not enough, their bodies slide easy into a sea ready to carry them back to villages and towns forgotten because they too are not enough. The pages of sky above your blasted body float down. Remind us of sticky summer beaches where the ocean named you. Sweet child, your blood is the ink spilling on a scarred earth of amputated hearts. The smoke in your lungs leaves signals for the living. I too keep anything blue I can find, like the bird whose name I never knew. Blue everything, in a house where our lives were full of each other, where hands offered bloodroot, burdock, and glistening slippery elm. Wounded stories hidden beneath baskets full of crystals, feathers, roots, bark, mask, tongues, unread manuscripts, scorched photos, dried seeds, broken glass, wasted rage, wounded ink. A girl by another name watches her hands wrinkle, become her grandmother's hands, snuff out fire with the only breath she's managed not to sail. At daybreak, the house started unraveling. Airborne nails become a storm, outracing all the memories of all the secrets they'd held. My mother sifts through a basket of exploded plums, searching for keys. Living and not so alive ghosts from a well-traveled ship descend into her mornings, searching for their names. She's sewn their names, their faces, their memories into fine wedding veils and stuffed them inside unmarked shipping containers aboard cargo ships whose smoke keep her awake. Daylight. 20 years from now, no one will open me up like a crisp newborn apple or search for a whiff of me in an overgrown graveyard. No one will whisper my name in the shower or remember my favorite flavor of ice cream. No one will cherish a special slip of lace or carve out my name on a wooden pew. No one will miss my ghostly handwriting or remember my poems etched in fields of steel. There is only this time for the ghosts to dance themselves anew and cry out loud that they remember. The things of me freeze well in this house. Time was always broken in this house. Clocks refuse to announce light of dark. Hidden letters, receipts, stamps, birthday cards, sympathy cards, wedding license, divorce decrees become glow-in-the-dark wallpaper for a concert of regret. 39 tubes of Marrakesh red lipstick unopened inside a makeup case. 80 38 Triple D red lace bras wrapped in lavender-scented crepe paper, waiting for my skeleton to redress, reappear, open the curtains, howl the names of cereals, soups, omelets, schools, towns, dead children. I am awakened by my own dreams, pitting dreams against daylight. How can I write poems when babies are eating their fingers for breakfast? I sit in a crowded waiting room where there is light, heat, sick children who will be healed and slip back into warm beds, stomachs purring with the content of nourishment. This is not America, but a canvas of wasteland. This is not America, but bellies full of bullets. This is not America, but a dream undreamed. This is America, where all mothers pray at doormats. The coroner found a rubble marble inside your left wrist. The day continued to turn. There was pizza burning in the oven. We found a toddler's shoe on our morning walk. There were no lottery winners amongst the hooded sweaters blocking the church entrance. The homeless remembered to eat, and we all begged for water. This day of too many sunsets yawns out loud. I am told that my grandmother cried tears of indigo. Her bloodline, ocean, swamp, crocodile crossings, sugar-coated, starch constitutions, reparations torn, returned undeliverable. You tell me I'm the best door in your heart, a wounded flying saucer tipped over in your rose garden. You gather me like Venetian lace, fold all my corners into pyramids, flying carpets, desert maps, Casablanca rewound, love deferred. Midnight offers reasons to run. My grandmother's bloodline sent in the mercenaries. I forget to unmask. I forget to run. In the Inquisition, you ask me what I am pretending not to know. The business of the coroner is not the business of the blue marble. It knows the stories inside the veins, the screams that pump the heart, the fear inside the throat. Thank you. I don't know what the time frame is. I don't know.
It's 5 till 5.
So what time is it?
It's 5 till 5.
So does that mean I have 5 minutes?
5 minutes,
Okay.
6 7.
Well, I'm not going to overdo it. You guys have been here all day. That's
Still here.
and you're still here. But I was raised not to wear out welcome. My mom used to say, you want them to invite you back. Don't wear out your welcome, right? Act like you got some sense. So I'm going to read 2 more poems on. And I'm going to read this poem that I wrote for Renee Nicole Good. I didn't know I was writing it for her. I am the delicate ventriloquist. The Mammy Museum is closed to unworthy memorials of diseased constitutions. Does the stench of my death force you away? Does my poetry inside your mouth taste like the Last Supper? Does the swallowed stolen key rust in your mouth like a nameless tornado? I am the delicate ventriloquist, unmasked, mammy crawling, nailing pennies in every corner, counting crows living inside hearts. Become carcass of dead bird, sassy woman child. Become sharp finger, knife, spared from hand of the mother. Become bed for goddesses who live here too. I am the delicate ventriloquist, firewalker, Sunday sunrise, praise legs by night, 4 women in the vineyard of Nina Simone, strung across map, bloody trees, talking ropes, damsel, vixen, lady, grande dame, weaver of hair, teeth, bones, snake whisperer, dancing winds, blow museum doors wide open, mammies rejoice. I am the delicate ventriloquist. Faces of mothers appear in the moon tonight, every night. Dark, bruised, puffy eyes, small circles where mouths used to be. Who stops to clear the bones from the path to the top of the mountain? Too many tongues hold back storm waters, lasso a crumbling Last Supper. Crystal cups betray the wine, stain the mammy whale. Skin becomes memory, measured skin, skin as clock, skin as rock, skin as nest, skin as third eye, skin as river rising, skin as fresh fish, unbridled portal, slippery currency, skin as border, burden, tree, swamp, brown bags, radio, gun, razor, planet, recreation, benediction, prayer, skin as flag, museum, playground, belt, purse, curse, diamond, skin as rust, torn lace, crossroad, fractured smile, light, gate, ground, skin as sky, sound, waste, thimble of joy, allergic reaction, flying carpet, cloudburst, prison, parachute, unreasonable doubt, confetti, Confederate money, Harriet Tubman's clock. I am the delicate ventriloquist. The Mammy Museum is closed. The Mammy Museum is closed. The Mammy Museum is closed. Skin as flapping curtain, noose as necklace, gunpowder as food. So I'm going to read this one poem and be done. So several years ago, when Silent Sam was being toppled on UNC's campus, it was 11 o'clock at night, and I was watching the 11 o'clock news, perched in all of my pillows in my bed. And I was watching the news, and my phone was just beeping with messages, text messages from my students, some at UNC, some at Duke, and they were like, we're here, we're in Chapel Hill, and I'm writing back, why are you there? I think this is dangerous. I don't think you should be there, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, just be careful. I think you should leave, go back to campus. And they were like, no, you teach us every day to bear witness. I was like, okay. And as I'm watching this live footage of the statue toppling, I started weeping. And this little voice inside of me said, what you crying about? And I realized that I have a very complicated relationship with the South, as many people do. It's very complicated. Because genetics and ancestry is powerful. You know, there's the Irish and the Black and the natives and all of the others in there. But I realized that I didn't need to know why my response was weeping, right? But it was a weeping moment for so many reasons. So when I am confused, I tend to write. So that night I reached for my journal, and I wrote this poem that just came out of watching that newsreel. So you can say that newsreel was the primary source. The 11 o'clock news was the primary source that prompted me to write this poem. But as I was writing, all of these metaphors inside of my Southern memory, and I really do believe that there is a crisis in Southern memory. We have most times collective amnesia about many, many things regarding our collective Southern relations. So a lot of things were coming up, and I can talk a little bit about some of the images. But this poem, I wanted it really to be full of metaphors that represented the Confederate daughter who does not have a voice, and that would be me. I'm the other daughter of the Confederacy. See, folk forget that there were many, many, many Black Confederate soldiers who died across the Confederate battlefields. Those men did not have a choice to go. And they went for a lot of wealthy, gentry, plantation owners who did not want to go, did not want their sons, their nephews, their cousins, their brothers to go. So they paid for white men to go, but they sent their slaves. And we sometimes forget that that Confederate flag belongs to everybody. My grandmother used to tell me this years ago. She's like, the Confederate flag belongs to not one group of people in the South. That flag belongs to everybody. So I was thinking about this that night, and I'm just going to read the poem, and then you can ask me questions. Letter from the other daughter of the Confederacy. Could I, would I have been your Black Confederate princess, emblem of truly a new dirty South, a new rag for all the wiping, swiping of blood-dazzled sidewalks, trees bent heavy, heaving beneath black claws, tigers and bears. Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate concubine, sashaying a room draped in rope, teeth, dried phalanges, pulsating throats, electric shocked eye sockets? Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate dominatrix? Razor blades trapped beneath my armpits, whips growing like hair across your ribs. Your mother's mother's mother raising out of a hell box to reclaim her name. The last of a savage cave tribe, buried alive beneath a southern mansion crest. Your father's father's father does not wince in his grave. He's known other Black Confederate dominatrix, claimed flagpoles to pleasure her demands, swallowed birth certificates, census reports, Bibles to pleasure his own demands. Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate trophy, hidden inside mahogany carved beds, hidden inside crystal flutes, hidden inside a meadow of thistle, hidden inside the elbow of an oak that knows everything, everyone, or inside an owl's nest, just a throw from the slave auctioneer's voice? Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate lover? Bite me, bite me, bite me, while an entire continent roars back upon your back. Our daughters are not your daughters. 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 Let them be. Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate secret? I am the names of smothered babies in the hands of mammies so black they startle the night they steal from. I am the names of all the daughters grinding and sifting gree-gree into your soup. I am the name of every womb you poisoned. I am the name of all your weariness, all your fear, all your disease, all the death I hold back from you. I am the life of the 100,000 nightmares that hold you hostage to sunlight. Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate truth, once upon a Black Confederate lynching book? I am all the names of all the names of all the names of Black skin becoming stardust, floating black snow, falling all over the porcelain nakedness of your white Confederate mistress. Confederate black snow falling on the tongues of your white Confederate children. Black Confederate skin tucked inside their pockets for good luck. I am the name of the belt you tighten around your white Confederate waist, woven from my Black Confederate skin. Could I? Would I have been your Black Confederate anthem, a princess without a country, the other daughter of the Confederacy, sewing bullets inside Bible pages, wrapping swords with crushed red velvet, dancing knives beneath war skirts? I am this other daughter of your Confederacy, standing bone to bone to bone to all the other Confederate daughters, eating the stars falling from your eyes that could not bear witness to your other daughter of your Confederacy. I am that daughter, bleached bones, rotating eye sockets, searching upside down for stolen birthrights, shackled starlight, and the indescribable taste for freedom. Thank you. So, any questions about the last poem? So many questions. Well, that belt, I had been working with my students on these articles that we were finding about body parts that were stolen from, well, not stolen, just taken from lynching sites and become souvenirs. And one of my students, this young man from not the South, but upstate New York, he said, I have a question. He said, we're always talking about the containers we create for the things we want to keep. He said, what do we do with the things we don't want to keep? He said, what are the containers for things we don't want? And I said, tell me more. He said, well, there's this thing in my family that is passed down to the men in our family when you graduate from college. I said, tell me more. And he just kept going on. And finally I looked at him, I said, what is it? He said, it's a purse. I said, okay, I'm thinking carpet bag. He said, it's made of flesh. Oh. And he said, it's been passed down for generations in our family. And he said, I'm next in line for it. And he said, I don't want it. I said, then don't accept it. And he said, you don't understand. He said, I would be disinherited. He said, I cannot not accept it. So for like another hour to class, we were like, well, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that. And I said, well, why don't you bring it to Durham and we will give it a proper burial, a ritual. And he said, no, I can't do that. I don't know whatever became of that. But that story kept showing up for me when I was writing this, the belt woven from the skin, from my skin. So we never know where these primary sources that we name, how they're going to show up in other bodies of work. Okay, thank you all so much. So very much.
Wow. Wait, before you leave, let's give Jackie another round of applause. So powerful. What she said in the workshop today stayed with me, and all of her poems will stay with me. But one of the things she said, if we are still, we will find the more. I'm going to get a t-shirt and we'll say, Jackie Shelton Green said that. But thank you for your instruction. And you are the best door of our hearts with those poems. You peer through to the other side, and we thank you for that. And we know that comes at a cost. So thank you for bringing your whole self on this Valentine's Day and this 14th day of Black History Month, because you did that. Thank you, Joshua, for showing up and showing out. Thank you, Amy Randall. Thank you, all of those in Poetry Land out there. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you next month. All right? Thank you. There are books for sale. Please support the poet. Thank you for coming.